Hey guys, I bet you've seen a lot of isekai animes, but I'm sure you've never seen one like this before. Here's the story. A man who has been known since childhood as a prodigy in sweet making goes to a competition to see who can create the most beautiful sweet. Unfortunately, the peacock-shaped sweet he makes falls on him, and, being very heavy and hard, ends up sending him to the other side. After that, he is reborn as a boy, and his dream is to make lots of sweets in that world, but for that, he'll need to learn magic and martial arts first. And that's the story I'm going to tell you today. But first, give me a like here on the video and subscribe. It really helps me out. Okay, let's go to the recap. The anime starts by showing our protagonist in his past life. He's in a sweet competition which will decide who the world's best pâtissier is. For those who don't know, a pâtissier is someone specialized in the creation and making of sweets, desserts, and the like. We see here that he is known as the god pâtissier. In the grand final of the competition, he decided to make a beautiful big bird, and he was confident he would win the competition. However, at some point, his giant sweet falls right on top of him, seriously injuring him. Lying on the ground, losing his life, he laments and says he would have liked to create the world's best sweets before going to his grave. He says that God is very cruel to make him go out this way. And at that moment, a voice speaks to him and says that it will give him a new chance. It tells him his new name in this other world, which is a very long name, so we'll just call him Pastry, which is his first name. And then, we already see him with his new parents. And after a time skip, Pastry is now a bit older. He explains to us a bit about that world. He says his father is the Lord Suzerain of a region. However, the place where they live is very arid, and it was impossible to grow wheat or barley. His father worked hard alongside those who followed him and those who already lived in the area, and, after many years, they were able to make the soil in that place fertile. The work paid off, and they quickly managed to create large plantations that fully supplied the residents of that region. After this quick explanation, we see Pastry training swordsmanship with his father. He is already 9 years old, and yet he is the best with the sword after his father. Everyone sees him as a prodigy. He explains that his father is a military hero, and his mother is a kind and gentle lady. He says that it really is a peaceful village, but something bothers him a lot, which is the fact that their fief can't grow sugarcane to make sugar, and so it's very difficult for him to make sweets, which has always been his dream since his past life. While he's training, he starts thinking about sweets and gets distracted, making him easily defeated by his father. Then, one of his father's servants arrives and says there's good and bad news. Pastry's father tells him to speak the good news first, and he does. The good news is that thanks to Pastry's guidance, they achieved an excellent grain harvest. And the bad news? The soldiers failed to eliminate the bandits who invaded a neighboring town, and now those bandits are coming toward their region. Pastry's father is worried, as they will probably destroy the crops and kill many people when they arrive. Pastry says there are about 50 bandits, and they must prepare, as the bandits will arrive in approximately 2 months. Pastry ponders and says that even if they join the 3 villages in the region, they will have at most 30 men, and it will be difficult to stop them with just that. At some point, the blonde guy sees Pastry's serious expression, and in his thoughts, he says that's the look of a future leader, someone who wants to defend his family and neighbors. But what he doesn't know is that Pastry is angry about the possibility of losing the wheat he'll use to make his sweets. Pastry, very angry, says in his thoughts that he will cut down anyone who tries to ruin his dream of creating a land of sweets. The guy only thinks about making sweets. Man. The blonde guy says they have a chance. His instinct is telling him to bet on Pastry, and the Lord asks him what he means by that. He responds that it's obvious, they should baptize Pastry so that he can use magic and help in the fight against the bandits. His father resists a little, but eventually agrees, even though it's a bit early, since the boy is only 9 years old, and normally the coming of age ritual happens at age 11. Later, he tells Pastry's mother that he will do this, leaving her very worried. Says she would like Pastry to live his childhood more and that it's not fair that he has to undergo the ritual at such a young age. But his father stamps his foot and says he will do it, because if he doesn't, they might all end up in trouble. She resists a lot, but eventually accepts. A few days later, they go Pastry says goodbye to his friends and then his father uses teleportation magic. Pastry arrives in the city and is very surprised by the fruits there. Since there's nothing like that in his region, he starts to fantasize about the various sweets he could make with all those fruits. His father says he will buy whatever he wants after the completion of the passage ritual. And after that, they proceed to the church. The priest receives them and is surprised to learn that such a young boy is the one to perform the ritual. But he accepts it. He makes the preparations and finally, the ritual is about to begin. Basically, he is tied and strapped to a chair and drinks a strange and bitter liquid. For a few hours or days, he will be blindfolded and isolated from any external contact until his magic manifests. And soon the ritual begins. Pastry's father thought it wouldn't last more than a few hours, just like it happened to him. However, it has been more than a day and still nothing. His father starts to worry, thinking it's been tough for Pastry. But that's not the case. He has been spending all that time thinking about the different types of sweets he could make with those apples he saw in the city. Eventually, Pastry finally manifests his magic, and the ritual is concluded. His father comes to talk to him and is very happy, saying that he did very well. He meditated for 2 full days and was able to manifest a large amount of magic. And after that, the ceremony is concluded with a kind of magical scroll, and now, Pastry is officially an adult and is recognized by the church. Now finally, he can use magic without any hindrance. The priest says that he has received a practically unique power in modern times. And there are few records of someone who has managed to attain such a large amount of magic. After that, he pays the priest and they leave. Finally, for Pastry, the time has come for him to choose the fruits he would like to take home. He picks some apples but is very indecisive about which ones to choose. Finally, he makes his choice and they leave. At this moment, that priest appears, and we see that he's a rascal. He complains about receiving only silver coins and calls Pastry's father poor, also saying that such a trifling amount of money won't be enough to keep him silent. Mark my words, I'm sure this rascal priest will cause problems in the future. Then, we are shown that a village has been completely destroyed by the bandits who are coming towards Pastry's fief. And thanks to this, his father is organizing everything for their defense. He has gathered all the residents in one place to avoid isolated attacks. He has also blocked the wells of the neighboring villages so that the bandits have no supplies and only have one place to attack, which is exactly where they are, thus making defense easier. Everyone is working hard to defend against the bandits' attack. At a certain point, he receives news that the bandits will arrive sooner than they thought. Pastry hurries and calls his friends to collect many stones to be ready before the attacks. They spend the day collecting until, at the end of the day, the boys spot a large group of bandits coming towards them. They run to the city and warn the adults that the bandits are very close. Upon hearing this, Pastry's father wastes no time and sends his blonde assistant to reconnoiter the bandits. Meanwhile, Pastry is working on a plan for the children to implement during the attack, since they can't be on the front line. We return to Pastry's father, and the blonde guy uses a tracking skill to see where and how many bandits there are. He says he detected at least 70 bandits, and they are heading towards their camp. They also noticed that these aren't common bandits, they are actually a gang of EX Knights, and therefore, they are very skilled in combat. They quicken their pace and head towards the location. Upon arrival, they quickly dispatch several of the supposed bandits. This leads to some casualties, which facilitates the defense of the fief. After that, they quickly run back to the fief, luring the bandits to follow them. Upon reaching the village, Pastry's father passes close to the wall they built, and Pastry puts his plan into action. He takes some children who are skilled with slings, and they start throwing stones at the bandits. They keep throwing until the leader of the bandits realizes it's a trap and starts climbing the wall to go after the children to stop the attack. He climbs up and the villagers try to stop him with scythes and agricultural tools. But unfortunately, it doesn't work, and the rascal EX Knight manages to get over the wall and jumps inside. Once inside, he starts beating up all the villagers who try to prevent him from reaching the children. He causes great damage, and meanwhile, the children keep throwing stones at the scoundrel bandits. The leader gets furious with them and cowardly quickly goes to attack one of the children. Fortunately, or unfortunately, Pastry steps in front and ends up receiving the sword strike in front of her. The least bad thing is that it was in the arm and won't cause major complications. The cowardly bandit takes Pastry hostage and warns the people not to come closer, or he will harm the boy big time. Pastry doesn't know what to do, but at a given moment, he notices a bandit lying on the ground with his eyes burned from the flaming stone. That hit him. Pastry then gets an idea. He uses a spell to transfer the bandit's injury to all the other bandits there. It works perfectly, and soon, they all start rolling in pain, with their eyes burning, quickly defeated by Pastry. And so, today's video comes to an end. If you liked it, let me know in the comments. If you want the part 2 of this anime, I personally enjoyed it a lot, it's really fun. And the kid is crazy about sweets. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, it helps me a lot, seriously, it helps me a ton.